Okay, ready? Obviously, 5, 4. Okay, count me down. Obviously, here to announce the extensions. We didn't plan on doing them on the same day. It just kind of happened that way. Love to thank Joe and Peter, the ownership group, making the financial commitment that they did, continue to do. A huge commitment to winning. I'm lucky to work with an ownership group like that, and lucky to have the opportunity to sign players like Jordan and Andrew. Love what they've been, love what they've done, and excited to see what they can continue to do and grow within the organization. As far as the Draymond returning to practice, I haven't spoken about that. Steve's talked a lot. I would say that I've heard much of the conversation around it, very fair. From my standpoint, I would just echo what Steve said, is that we did our best. Understand there's different viewpoints. But from our perspective, it did involve a lot, and as far as conversations with the stakeholders, and it wasn't easy, but we made the decision we made. With that said, regarding the extensions, I want to thank CAA as well, the agency that represented both these guys. So dealing with Austin Brown and Stephen Human, Drew Morrison, made it easier in some ways to talk to one group, although they had different agents with different players. But as we moved through the negotiations, we had a sense that both players really wanted to stay here. And certainly Andrew had been somewhere else. Seems like he's found a home that he's excited about, and Jordan clearly earned what he received, and they both did. So it's fun for us to be able to do things like that, reward hard work, reward two players that were probably not thought of being the ones that would get these type of numbers, but that's them. That's their hard work. That's the coach's development. That's our scouting group's ability to identify talent. So it's an organizational success story, and we love to reward players that have earned those things. Happy to answer questions on details or anything like that.
Bob, did you anticipate getting these deals done before the season began, and did the incident with Draymond have any impact on the decision to sign these guys?
Second question, no. The Draymond incident didn't have any impact on how we moved through these things. These had been ongoing discussions. I know that they came to fruition pretty late in the game, but we've been talking to Andrew's representatives. That was a little bit quieter. I think a lot of people assumed that might not get done. But those conversations have been going on for 2 months. Jordan, we agreed to pick up later, and had a sense that we have a good opportunity to get it done. Wasn't sure where it was going to end up. But as far as after the finals and the victory, we organizationally felt like these are two guys we really want to keep and see if we can do it. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes the expectations don't align. Sometimes the money doesn't align. But as we got closer, Marcus, we got a sense that there was a good intention from the agency side, from the players' side, and certainly from ours to try to figure out a path to getting them both done.
Obviously, you just added about $50 million to the salary cap next year. Does this signal that Joe is willing to take on that huge tax burden, which is projected to be about $480?
Are you, did Kawakami, are you speaking on behalf of Tim?
I speak on behalf of Marcus Thompson.
You know, it's interesting. I see the comments on our future. I'm well aware of what the numbers are, but what I would say to everyone is that that's next season, and this is this season, and we can't play next season now. If you would ask me a year ago today if we would be paying Poole and Wiggins this, I would have probably not believed you. So we have to take it year to year, Marcus. I can't evaluate what we're going to do next offseason until we see what happens this season. And whatever it is, it is. And I just know this, that there's a huge commitment to winning. There always has been. I imagine there always will be. And I'm lucky to be in a group that believes that. Their actions prove it. So we'll see what happens this season and go from there.
Okay, Tim Kawakami just gave me another question.
Go ahead.
We know how you operate, and you guys kind of plan for everything in advance. For instance, like last year, you were thinking about Poole's extension now. So there is a universe where everybody plays well and you win another title, and now you're faced with this situation where you got to pay these guys. Is that on the table? Because Joe has said some things like that's not going to be possible. Does this mean there's a universe where it is possible, or does this mean there's a D-Day coming?
I think somebody really smart once told me never make decisions till you have to, and we don't have to make that decision right now, so we won't. We don't. I guess what I've learned is the modeling has never been less valuable in the modern NBA with the fluidity of the league. Again, I can use these two guys as an example. Nobody was hypothesizing a year ago, what are you going to pay Wiggins $100 million and Poole what we paid him? So it's a good reminder that no one knows. A lot of people thought we wouldn't win. Fair point from many people. Every team goes into every season with expectations, with ideas, with modeling, and those usually get blown up. So as far as what we're going to do, I don't know. But I do know when we have to do it, we've got a lot of smart people figuring it out and an ownership group that's committed to supporting that.
Bob, excuse me, Bob, you talked about the conversations around the Draymond Poole situation and you getting to a place where you organizationally felt comfortable with the outcome that happened. At what point and what happened that made you feel comfortable enough to go the route that you guys did with Draymond and
well, if I said comfortable, I probably misspoke. None of this is comfortable, I probably should have used a different word. I would say we did the best we could, and picked the decision that we thought was the best one for the organization. As far as it being easy or comfortable, it wasn't. It isn't. But the work now has to be forward, and that's all we can really do at this point. Decision's been made, and I think the players, the coaches, the organization will move through it, and I believe we'll be okay.
And what about because we've always talked about, and you guys have always talked about your culture. What do you think about what do you think about your culture that can make this happen smoother than the rest of the world anticipates it happening?
We'll see, right? I mean, you don't really know your relationships till they're tested. I think we've had some relationships tested in this organization. I always tell people the hardest thing in this business and professional sports now is keeping something together. I don't know that people quite understand how hard it is to sustain success in the NBA and professional sports now. It's literally the hardest thing in the world to keep a group of the same people functioning at a high level with the attention on the players, with the money, with shorter contracts in the NBA, with players rightly seeking the best thing for them and moving in free agency or via trade. And each day we show up trying to protect that fabric, but it does take hits. It 100% takes hits, just like any relationship does. And you test and you see if you can figure out a way through that stuff. It helps to have history. Sometimes the history is checkered, though, so you got to deal with that too. But what I would say is that it's culture is people. And I think down in the practice facility and above me, parallel to me and beneath me in the organization, there's some really high-quality people that we lean on in these moments, and that's what we're doing now. But it's one of those situations where you don't just expect things to heal on their own. You have to work at it, and we've been in situations where we've had to work to heal before, and we're in one now.
Bob, are you able to say how you feel about the fact that even when you develop your own players, the luxury tax still hits you just as hard as if you were to be signing free agents? How do you feel about that developing your own players doesn't give you any kind of a break?
Well, look, Monty, I mean, I think that that's been spoken of, and I'm going to tread very carefully there. What I would say, not on the financial component, is we are very proud as an organization to watch our team play in the finals last year and see 5 players that we drafted having a huge role in our success, and one player that we traded for that at the time we traded for him wasn't necessarily a heralded acquisition. Was kind of thought as not a great idea in some parts and maybe good in other parts. But to look out there as a front office and see that a lot of these guys we picked, there's a pride in that. I think our fans appreciate that. I mean, if I was and I grew up here when I was a Warriors fan, I loved knowing that Chris Mullin was going to be out there every season for the most part. But then a lot of guys come and go. And the mark of a great organization is one that can retain talent, groom talent, identify talent, and succeed. And last year was really a culmination in that. And we're very proud of that. Economically, I'm not going to get into what the rules should or shouldn't be. The rules are the rules. And I'm lucky that we have very competitive owners that support winning at a high level.
You know, obviously the extension talks with Andrew were kept a little quieter, but at what point in the past week or days did those talks start to make meaningful progress?
Well, I'd say about a week ago, we picked up some steam, and you never really know in a negotiation if you're going to get there, but the gap started shrinking. We didn't plan on doing these things. Actually, we planned on not, if we got it done, not doing these guys on the same day. So that just happened to be how it came down. But as far as Andrew, I had a conversation with Andrew and his agents prior to him signing, prior to agreeing to the deal, where just communicated, he communicated how much he enjoyed playing for us. I communicated how much we appreciated him and what he means to this organization, and watching him succeed and win a championship and get what he deserved as far as the accolades. So it was really nice. He was at my office and signing the contract, and it was a nice moment for him because he's more than Jordan. Andrew's probably seen a lot of different sides of the NBA. I think he had 4 coaches at Minnesota. I think here he found some stability, but stability is tough to find in the NBA. And then Jordan, for different reasons, when we drafted him, probably heard some of the noise, and that's part of it. And then his rookie year, he would admit, wasn't stellar. And then going down to the G League is something that I think a lot of players end up doing, but some feel like, why aren't I in the NBA? And how he embraced that opportunity. And Jordan, both came here in different fashions, but both have thrived. And so I guess we saw a finish line over the last 4 or 5 days that these things have a shot at getting done.
Bob, how do you feel about where this team will be now in 2025? How do you feel now versus how you felt about that maybe 2 weeks ago?
Oh man, now we're going like two more years out. It's hard not to think about those things, and I know you write about them because it's not just you guys thinking about them. It's our fans. It's NBA fans. I honestly don't know if you would ask me in the year we were 15-50 if we would win a championship 2 years later. That would have been hard for me to digest. So in 25, what I will say is, when you go down and watch the end of practice, I think there's a lot of talent out there, and there's a lot of depth, and that's our job in the front office, to give our coaching staff, our fans, a product that they can get excited about, that can win. And the other night in the preseason game, we saw glimpses of the young guys. But in most places, those young guys get to play a lot more, and it's going to be tougher for our young guys. So I like what we have out there, but sports is a tricky thing, right? Things change fast, so we'll see 2025.
Well, I was asking that question in the context of what has happened in the last 24 hours. I mean,
Right.
what these guys, signing these guys did.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't get the question right, Monty, but I think it's one of the toughest things in the front office role is to acquire talent and keep it. It's easy to sit there and get cap space and think of guys you might trade for, but actually retain talent is really difficult. And so yesterday was a big moment for our organization in retaining two highly talented players, one young and one probably in the middle of his career, prime, in Wiggins. So that's a big thing for us. It's hard to get players. It's really hard, and we have a lot of good ones. Some through the draft, many through the draft, some through trade. Not a ton through free agency on this team. Iguodala came back around, but most of our players have been done through trade or draft in the past. It seems to work out for us pretty well.
Bob, Draymond has said that he doesn't expect an extension to happen this year. Is that what's going on with that from your point of view, and where you guys separate there?
No, Draymond's in a great spot. I think he's got a player option. It's a great position for a player to be in. You control your own destiny. We gave Wiggins one. We reluctantly give those. Those are really powerful things for players. So he's in a great spot, and I think he's excited about the year, and he wants to win another championship. He sees the opportunity in front of him, but I don't sense. I talked to him this morning. I don't sense any issues there or any problems with that. And I imagine he's going to have a fantastic year. I actually think he will have a great year. He's got a lot on the line, and usually when Draymond has a lot on the line, he performs.
Building on that question, how is the team overall's relationship with Draymond? Because he has a player option coming up next year, and obviously wants a contract. How did you guys see it from your point of view? Has what happened affected how you guys view him going forward? What is your relationship going forward with him?
Yep, I've seen on the agent side, and not as much here since I've been with the Warriors, but I have seen contract conversations really infect the team. I honestly don't. I know that's been a narrative. I haven't seen it on the practice floor. I mean, today was no different. I know it was written that was part of what transpired the other day, but I don't feel that. I don't think that. I think Draymond was asked that and answered it. So I don't feel the contracts are. Interestingly enough, in my opinion, the players don't think about this as much as maybe you guys do, from my vantage point.
I meant more so of how the team views Draymond.
Oh,
in that sense, going forward after what just happened.
I think they love him. I mean, as far as
Organizationally.
Yeah, organizationally, he's on our team. We think he can help us win, and he's got some things he's got to work through, and we're confident he will. And he's in a lot of conversations stated that he's going to do that work, and he understands what he needs to do, and he's going to have to go do it. And so the organization, he's here, he's on our team, he's a big part of our team. But like I said, and like Steve said, and I think like Draymond said, it's not really about what I think, it's about his teammates. And that's not something I can answer. They can answer, and time will tell. You'll see the results out there. You won't need me to sit up here and tell you how it's going with Draymond and the players. You'll check in game 10 or 20 or 40 or 50, and you won't need anyone to tell you what it is. You'll be able to see what it is. So that question I know we want an answer to now. That question will get answered over the course of the season like it should. But to kind of predict what it is or what it is, it's really for them to figure out.
Bob, in a funny twist of fate, you just gave a guy up to $140 million, and he's coming off the bench, and that doesn't happen. But obviously you see something big for his future. How would you explain what you see Jordan's ceiling to be in this league?
Well, if you like the analytics, he checks out in a lot of ways. If you don't, that's fine too. He's got youth on his side. I think the thing that gives us the most encouragement, to be honest, is his work ethic and how much he likes to work, and he loves to play. And many people think that those are things that are automatic in the NBA, and they're actually not. I don't think everybody loves to work, but he does. He's proven that. I asked a few people prior to in our organization, is there any reason why we wouldn't pay these guys? Is there something I'm not seeing? And whether it was a player, whether it was a trainer, whether it was Steve, ownership, and everyone came back with a strong, these are guys you want moving forward. And even Wiggins, how he showed up, a little distrusting, and who he is now, and maybe you see it when he sits up here. I think him and Jordan are going to come up here, and he just seems like a different guy in a positive way. And so those are the type of people, much like 10 years ago when Curry, in a different way, had the ankle stuff. We extended him, and some said you shouldn't. Our answer internally was we're betting on the person. And that's what I would say about Jordan and Andrew. We're betting on the person.
Hi, Bob. You guys really pride yourself on having high character guys and drafting high character guys and bringing those kind of guys in. But one of the two ways, Anthony Lamb, he has some pretty serious accusations that were thrown at him in 2021. And I was just wondering, when you guys brought him in, was that something you guys looked into with the process, and what did you guys find with that?
We had we checked with the NBA, we checked with the two teams that had prior signed him, and didn't hear anything as far as official charges or anything like that. And it's tough because we take that very seriously, but at the same time, it's difficult because if somebody is accused of something but not charged or convicted, and we then deny them an opportunity, is that fair too? But again, that's a very something we take very seriously. But we can only at times look at what the law has done, and also follow the leadership of the NBA. If the NBA had said this is not something we would recommend or do, or there's an ongoing investigation, we would not have moved forward. They have more information than we do in this situation, and we had to lean on that. We leaned on the prior teams that signed him. Our general counsel looked into it himself, but we didn't do it lightly, but understand the question.
Cool. All right, thank you. We'll plan on having Steve and the two guys up here shortly.